So in this section, we're going to talk about sexual violence in the deaf and hard of hearing community. This is something, we're really trying to work on how we can help those in this community, because even as advocates and being where we are in the United States and in Minnesota, it's hard to find the tools necessary to help them. So in the US, about 22 million people experience hearing loss. About 275,000 people who are deaf or hard of hearing in Minnesota. Many live in the 7-county metro area. So when we think about helping the community up here, the resources are slim. So defining deaf and hard of hearing. Deaf means a hearing loss of such severity that an individual must primarily depend on visual communication such as writing, lip reading, manual communication such as sign language, and gestures. Hard of hearing, an all-inclusive term including a degree of hearing loss from mild to profound resulting in a functional loss, but not to the extent that the individual must depend primarily on visual communication. So there is significant underreporting. So 4 out of 5 within the community, sexual assaults go unreported. Research states that deaf or hard of hearing people are more likely to be abused and less likely to know how to get help. Deaf survivors experience significant barriers to accessing safety and other services in sports in the community and have unique needs, many of them cultural, which must be met to create an accessible, welcoming environment. Deaf people are at risk for experiencing increased levels of violence for longer periods of time because their access to services in their local area are limited. So Minnesota has a deaf domestic violence program, and they see on average 3 to 5 new clients a month. If you think that's huge, just think of how many more there could be, especially given in a rural area where there aren't many services. So, variations in communication when it comes to deaf and hard of hearing. There's speech, American Sign Language, which you might hear refers to ASL, combinations of ASL, finger spelling, and speech. People who are deaf or hard of hearing have their own style of speaking, grammar usage, vocabulary, favorite idioms, and cliches, just as hearing people do. So if you meet someone and they maybe have a different way of speaking and using maybe ASL and forms of expression, it's just something to be aware of. So here we have some communication alternatives. I know at Night to Unite, I had a deaf person come up and talk to me, and she had an app on her phone where she was able to type out a message, which I thought was really cool. She tried to mouth the words to me, and I said, I don't understand. And she was able to read my lips, and then she started using the phone, and it worked really well. So if you aren't able to understand, even writing a note, I do not understand what you were trying to say, being that open about it. But these are some different services for people of deaf and hard of hearing to communicate.